Day 2 of the Total Rally of South Africa, outside Witbank at Wolverkrans. It's the start of this rally proper with the first gravel stage.
See some of the action. That's now over. It plays its part, obviously, but I think the crews also now are ready to get down to the nitty-gritty, so to speak. This is the first proper stage, 17 k's of gravel. Interesting to see that in the top 5 we have 3 A8 cars, 2 A7 cars. We always said it was going to be close. And then the N4s taking up the next 3 places, and we'd expect those cars, which are about 30 seconds behind the leader, of course, Serge Damso at the stage, to really motor on the stage to try and get back up with the leaders.
Considering Serge at the head of the field, he had got quite a lot of problems on the gravel in the first rally. They've done some work to the car, but he needed this little lead to go into this because he's still not quite sure how competitive that Ronex is going to be.
It would have been a good confidence booster for him up to now. Obviously, as we know, things very different on tar than on dirt. I do believe that they have done a lot of work. I'm sure the car's handling better. That's already evidenced by the times as they stand, and he would want to really maintain his advantage. He's quite good under pressure, Serge is, and if at all possible, this is maybe going to also be a stage for him to say, hey guys, it's not been a fluke, I'm back, and I'm back with a vengeance.
With the leaders and leading the event, and once again he's in second place in the Class A7 car. Fantastic.
Just hope that the pace isn't too quick. I mean, Etienne, as we know, is very, very quick. He needs to maintain that pace now, remain consistent. Obviously his sponsors egging him on as well, showing that he can stay with the big boys, and yeah, we'll hold thumbs for him, because I think he's been knocking on the door for a long time, and he really should be up there with the A8 guys in an A8 car. The other guys fight it out in front. They can sit there, pick up the pieces, a little bit of the pressure off. We say that Yanni's got a lot of confidence, and so he should, and maybe that's exactly what they're doing, getting through some of the first gravel stages first, and then at the regroup see whether there's an opportunity to attack.
On the Total Tour Natal rally as well, gravel and sweeping the road was a big issue, and those roads are notoriously a lot more slippery than these roads, but once again that will be to their advantage. Obviously the 2 cars ahead sweeping the road.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the conditions here are different. This gravel stage, for instance, looks quite good. There seems to be a bit of moisture. There's not going to be a dust problem at all, a bit of a wind blowing. Conditions actually ideal, but it's always easier to follow the tracks, and I think certainly Yanni and Enzo are going to make the most of it right now, and we should maybe see some fastest time from them. Last year he'll want to do the same.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you say, they're just 30 or 40 seconds behind, and this is where those N4s are really going to come into their own. The tight, twisty bits didn't suit it beforehand, and we can expect those 3 to really challenge the leaders, and by midday maybe have 7, 8 cars within a few seconds of each other.
Yeah, well, that'll really be the first prize, a very close run rally, and a nice dice, of course, between the N4s and the A8 and the A7s. The 4-wheel drive is going to help the traction here. Also, of course, turbo cars still slightly at altitude, so they should have a good power setup as well, and I think the results board at the end of this stage is probably going to give us an idea of how the rally is going to run, certainly for the rest of today.
On to the first long gravel stage, the 17.4 kilometer Wolverkrans won, and Habich was pushing hard, but found the car's engine not pulling as strongly as he's used to. Nevertheless, he set the 3rd fastest stage time. Following his retirement from the lead in KwaZulu-Natal due to a broken valve spring, Kuhn was hoping for better fortune this time round. A broken piston ring in the rebuilt engine during testing did not inspire much confidence, but the Cape Townian was pushing hard on stage 5 anyway. He also felt his engine was down on power. Kuhn and Volkswagen teammate Habich are arguably the 2 most spectacular drivers on the rally scene, so let's watch how Enzo does it. After leading the series for much of the way, Kuhn missed out on last year's title after a mistake on the first stage of the final rally forced his retirement. The disappointment was great, and he's determined to win his first national rally title this year. The Total Rally is one of 2 Pace Notes events on the local calendar, which places more emphasis on the navigator. Hodgson, sitting alongside Kuhn, is one of the most experienced Pace Note navigators in South Africa, having competed in Britain for many years, and his experience would prove invaluable to Kuhn. After sharing the win on stage 3 with Gemmell, Kuhn and Hodgson finished 7th on this, the 5th stage. Although not entirely happy with the handling of the Ranex, Damso was finding that it was a huge improvement over the car he had at his disposal in Natal. His confidence restored, he was pushing as hard as ever, winning 3 of the first 5 stages. Rueda was behind the wheel of his brand new motion vehicle wholesaler's Mitsubishi Lancer. He found the Evo 7 version of the car quite different from his old car, and it was taking him a few stages to work out the handling and power characteristics of the new beast. Lawrence's win in last year's season closer has lifted his confidence to a new high, and this, together with changes to the Class A7 regulations that allow more power from the engine, have seen him become a major contender this year. He highlighted his newfound pace in KwaZulu-Natal, leading for much of the early part of the rally, and he was once again in the thick of the battle for the lead on this event. While Habich and Kuhn's style of driving is spectacular, Lawrence has a much smoother style, but it's deceptively fast. He was 2 seconds slower than stage winner Damso on stage 4 and was holding down second place overall, just 7 seconds behind the Ranex going into stage 5. Last season saw Lawrence perform a superb comeback to win the Class A7 title after non-scoring in the first 3 events of 2002. He crashed out of the first rally this year, but was determined not to repeat his early form last year with another non-finish. Fecken and Levkovitz were giving their all in their player, but the crew was again frustrated by their inability to keep up with Lawrence. The reason, a persistent misfire that the team has been unable to identify. It has hampered the player for the best part of a year now, yet there seems to be no cure for the gremlin. The Zambian crew of Muna Singh and David Sikoa were driving steadily in their Madison Insurance Subaru Impreza sport wagon, but they were bound for early retirement. Clutch failure would put them out of the event on stage 7, a problem that was already apparent here. Nicholas Ryan and Brian Careyhill were the stars of the Natal Rally in their ABC Motors Subaru Impreza, after finishing 4th overall. With newfound confidence, they were once again putting in solid stage performances and running in the top 10. Last season's Class A6 champions Craig Trott and Gerard Sneeman failed to finish the Natal Rally in their Team Total Toyota Corolla, but made a good start on this event to lead the class. But a problem-fraught event would see them retire on day 2. Kobus Roos and Brendan Noonan have moved up from Class A5 to A7 in the ex-Rocky Reiniger Hencom panel beaters Golf. They hit early gearbox problems, forcing their retirement after stage 5. The car was already stuck in gear in the early part of the stage, forcing Roos to feather the clutch in his attempts to get the car moving swiftly. The Reds were everywhere, but that didn't stop Gemmell and Godrich from blitzing the field in stages 5 and 6 as they started their charge to the front of the field. With the pace hotting up front, Damso was starting to feel the heat as Lawrence and Gemmell began breathing down his neck. Both took time off surge on stages 5 and 6, giving Lawrence the overall lead after stage 5. A fight back by Damso on stage 7 saw him regain the lead, but there was just 5 seconds in it. Fecken looked relaxed to the service point, but under that calm exterior, the lanky Praetorian must have been fuming. Berger was following his normal pattern of building up speed as the event progressed. He was running comfortably in the top 10, while Habich was still charging hard despite the power deficit. Stage 8 took the teams to a welcome rest and a regroup in Ermelo.
Dion, we've had 8 stages, and perhaps somewhat of a surprise leader in Serge Damso at the front of the field, considering the problems he had with the car on the Tour Natal.
But also considering how sort of ambivalent he was when we spoke to him at the beginning of the event. Obviously the work they've done on the car has paid off. Certainly the handling, because in the tight stuff already he was showing his class, and then now they've had 2 very fast stages. The power's also there, and he's ahead by 10 seconds.
But I think possibly also he's looking over one shoulder at Johnny Gemmell, because Gemmel's really flying on the dirt, and obviously if Gemmell gets into the lead, he can't allow him to get too far ahead, so they have to keep the pace going. The last few seasons the Sasol Golfs have been right up at the sharp end, and this event they suddenly seem to be down a bit.
They just don't sound right somehow, do they? They sound, they don't have that crispness. They seem to lack a bit of the sparkle and the fire. Our discussion with Enzo proves that maybe they don't quite have the power. But then he also says, you know, maybe this is about endurance, not about outright speed. And if they can stay in touch with, and some of the other guys have some problems, they might in fact still be there. But for the moment, I wouldn't call them amongst the favourites.
I think we're struggling a bit. Our cars, I think we're going to step back from Natal, definitely, and Toyota's possibly going to step up. Their car seems to be sorted quite strong, and to be quite honest, we're battling to hold on to the 4th place. So we've got Johnny Gemmell here running his Group A car, also with a lot of speed. But I think it's a long event, and at the end of the day, this event's about endurance and not outright speed. The thing is, we just need to get to the end and maybe do some development on the event here to try and get our speed back. We've lost a bit of power, and we need to find it. So that's quite critical at the moment.
Going along.
Now, I'm very sensitive about my engine. I had another engine problem under testing, so I'm very nervous. Every little sound and rattle, I'm looking at my navigator and asking him, did you hear that? Did you feel that? And the engine was boiling a lot today. We had high oil temperatures, so we have been hanging in there. It lasted the way to here, so I think the engine will go the whole way, but we are having to nurse it, definitely.
On the day, and just 10 seconds off the lead, Lourens could allow himself a small smile as he prepared for stage 9. At 25 and 48 kilometers respectively, stages 9 and 10 were the longest of the event, and Gemmell was the favourite to win both by capitalising on his car's power and 4-wheel drive grip. He narrowly missed out on victory in stage 9, but pulverised the best of the opposition by 26 seconds in stage 10, giving him the overall lead. Having paced himself perfectly on the first 2 days, he was now superbly placed for the final day's 150 stage kilometres. Berger and Bonafide were also expected to gain ground on the last 2 long stages of the day. They'd moved into 7th place ahead of Fecken and Levkovitz on stage 7, but a top 6 spot was within their grasp. Unfortunately for the pair, they were too cautious over the rough stuff and failed to make any impression on those ahead. However, they took 18 seconds off Fecken to hold 7th place overnight, although a scorer's error initially placed them 8th. The 2 long stages were expected to cost Habik significant time as he battled his power problems, but his attacking approach meant the time loss was not as substantial as he'd feared. Yet 5th is not where Habik likes to be on the road. Having won the past 2 championships and the opening rally of the year, he was a frustrated man. Suffering the same power problems as Habik, Kuhn was also expected to lose time, but he drove the pants off the Golf in these stages, throwing caution to the wind in his quest to make up time. He finished just 1 second behind Damso on stage 9 and was 2nd quickest on stage 10, albeit 26 seconds behind Gemmell. Under the circumstances, his final stage performance was mighty impressive. Veteran Damso likes nothing more than a challenge though, and he can never be written off. He responded to Gemmell's victories in stages 5, 6 and 7 with a win of his own on 9. Despite losing 48 seconds in stage 10, he was only 26 seconds behind at the overnight halt and looking strong for the final day's action. Rueda was slowly getting used to the quirky characteristics of the Mitsubishi's electronic differential and was edging ever closer to the stage winners' times. He was confident of winning stages on the final day, and the battle lines were drawn. Lourens is a cool customer behind the wheel. Let's watch him at work from our new camera angle. Etienne was now over 1.5 minutes ahead of class rival Fecken, who was still pushing on in the spluttering player. Meanwhile, usual rivals Chart van der Walt and Mike Burrows had already retired the second class A7 Sasol Volkswagen player on stage 2 with a broken crankshaft. Lawrence and Vermeulen decided to take no chances on the final 2 stages, easing their pace significantly, especially on the long stage 10, which saw them slip to 4th overnight. They were still within striking distance of the leaders, but they would have to dominate the final day if they were to have any chance of victory now. Fecken's crew was as frustrated as he was with the player's misfire. In recent times, they've changed almost everything, including the engine, its ancillaries and the wiring harness in their attempts to solve the misfire, but all to no avail. All he could do now was press on. With the light fading fast, headlights came on down the field. Young guns Ryan and Carrie Hill were overly cautious on the long stages and lost chunks of time, but they mixed this with some impressive